Welcome to another episode of the Empowered Presence podcast, where executive women of color come to learn how to build their visibility, authority, and thought leadership without sacrificing authenticity. I'm your host, Melanie L. Denny, personal branding consultant and creator of the Empowered Presence framework. Stay tuned as we dig deeper into personal branding strategies for women of color looking to make a bigger impact in their industries, their communities, and the world. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Empowered Presence podcast. So today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite kind of topics. I love this topic of community. And who else would I have than the super connector herself, Miss Michelle Talbert. Okay, so let me tell you, personal branding is all about that influence, that thought leadership, that authority. But without the people, what do you really have? Michelle, recovering lawyer, is a relationship marketing strategist who's been featured in Forbes, Ebony, and other major publications. She speaks regularly for organizations such as SCORE and the NASDAQ Entrepreneurial Center. And she was a contributing writer for Black Enterprise. Can I just say, I always have like the best guests. Anyway, after 4.5 years, she recently exited her power space, a women-forward, men-welcoming co-working space near Fort Lauderdale that she founded in January of 2020. And she sold the business to 3 of her space's existing members, which is a great point of pride for her. As a divorced single mom, and after almost a decade of community college, Michelle graduated from Cornell University and then the University of Pennsylvania School of Law with a business certificate from Wharton. After a decade of corporate law practice in DC, Michelle relocated to South Florida in 2015, where she has been an active member of the entrepreneurial ecosystem. Michelle now consults with corporations and law firms to create and enhance mentorship programming for their junior associates. Her motto is #WeAllWin. Awesome. I love this lady. I actually found her on LinkedIn, and she had a post about she was having an author that I was interested in listening to. And I was like, oh, I want to hop on here. Let's hop on. And got in there, and I recognized right away what a huge community builder she was. So I knew I wanted to have this topic, but there was no one else. It was Michelle. And I've been hounding her like, hey, Michelle, hey, girl, hey. So here she is. Thank you so much for being here and welcome.
Melanie, thank you so much. I'm excited for this conversation, and I'm just glad that we connected. I think it's been almost a year now, and I love that we connected on LinkedIn and are now doing this live. And, people from LinkedIn are commenting because it is so important to make connections that are really true and authentic, and you can show up as yourself. Right? I know that if I come to your stage, I'm bringing my full whole self. I don't say yes unless I can. Right. And so thank you so much. I'm excited. I see that the chat is going nicely, and I really appreciate everyone commenting. So I'm excited about this conversation, girl. It's been a long time in the making.
So let's talk about community. Let's define the word, like in the context of personal branding and you trying to, market yourself and sell yourself and build authority and build influence. What is community exactly? How would you define it?
The way I define it, the co is together, right? So that's the general definition of that prefix. And then for me, the unity, it's the together and togetherness, right? So it's both bodies in the room, but it's also unifying about thoughts, ideas, moving the needle forward. Why did we come together? Which does not mean that everyone thinks the same. Right? This is about the outcome, the purpose. Why are we occupying this space? And then bringing, like we said, our authentic self, our different ideas, ideologies together to then hopefully make an impact, however that impact is defined. So to me, community is about bodies and mind moving toward a same goal strategically.
I love that. And I think that plays into personal branding because you're the one leading that community. Yeah. You're the one facilitating. You're the one curating. You're the one bringing everyone together. And so I would love to hear some of your thoughts around using the power of community to propel your personal brand and to reach your goals, ideally.
Well, first of all, I think I always say everybody knows we all win. Like I think Tiff even put it in the chat already. Like hashtag we all win. Shout out to Black-owned businesses and co-working spaces and mailboxes in Dallas, Texas. Tiff Maddox, y'all. If you're in Dallas, check her out. And that's what I do, right? If I'm in a room, you're in a room. So to me, community is about storytelling, ensuring that we connect in a way that I know what you do, you know what I do, so that when I have access, you have access, right? So that's the first part. But that requires communication. That's the other right? Being able to talk to one another, learn about one another. And I think that what happens mostly in community, especially communities of women, which is where I have spent the better part of the last decade, right, is about storytelling. What's my story? What's your story? And then what's the story we can create together? And that's what sticks. Maya Angelou is quoted as saying, people won't remember what you do, but they'll remember how you make them feel. And my motto is, I remember that if you make me feel a certain way, I'm going to remember what you do, because I'm going to tell people what it is that you do, that you bring to the table.
Yes, I totally agree with you with the storytelling piece, right? That's a big part of what I like to talk about and teach as well, because the stories is what connects us. So tell us a little bit about some of the strategies, like some just practical strategies that people can use, especially women of color, as tend to be my audience. What can we use to start to build community as it relates to trying to build our personal brands and build authority and influence?
Absolutely. First of all, if you know me, you know that I have a special place in my heart for introverts. Okay. So I'm going to give tips, but I want to also let you know, I'm going to put an asterisk and give a couple of tips for the introverts as well. First of all, just remember, Sharon Washington said this quote like years ago, and it resonated with me. And that is, marketing gets you leads and sales get you paid. So if I am speaking to entrepreneurs, I want you to understand that marketing is just telling the story of your business with purpose. First of all, if I'm speaking to people who have a corporate position or are in the workforce, you're telling the story of the impact that you've made on the business. Okay, so this goes either way, entrepreneurs or if you're, an employee. So when you tell the story of what you've accomplished or the impact that you can make in your potential customer's life, that's marketing. But that's only half the battle, because if you only market and don't have sales, you will be broke. Right. And so the next piece is giving them an opportunity to what we call convert, right? A conversion event. A conversion event can be someone signing up for your email list, and it can be someone giving you a check to pay you for your services, right? And the two together enable you to have this blossoming business that has your brand attached to it. So the storytelling piece is from the perspective of the listener. How is it that you can either help them or the people they are connected with? One of the things that for introverts, I love to say is that, like I said, if I'm in a room, you're in a room too. So tell your story in that one-on-one if you're not comfortable networking in larger groups, but then your conversion event may be, hey, can you let people who have this demographic know that I offer this service? If you happen to be in a space where there are people who could benefit from the services or products or goods that I provide, please let them know about me. Right. And so as an introvert, you don't have to reach out to as many people that way. Right. But you're making the ask. So hopefully that's just like a little tip of the iceberg of some ways to think about how it is that you show up in a room, in a space, share from the perspective of the listener. If you can get them to tell you what they do first, then you can, like, in your brain work out, oh, this is how I may be able to help them. Right. I do not believe in elevator pitches. I'm not one to be like, I have this script in my head and this is how it looks. It's a transformation statement. If you interact with me, you go from here, this undesired, potentially existing situation, to a future desired state.
I love that. Transformation statement. I wrote that down.
So mine it used to be, my name is Michelle Talbert, and I help women entrepreneurs who are frustrated and feeling isolated and confused to going to having community and clarity in their business, right? So that is not about any type of how do you do that is the next question, right? Because it's
Right.
not like I sell a space or I have a community. It's I help you get from here where you don't want to be. And so many women entrepreneurs can say, I feel isolated, I feel confused, I don't have community, I don't know what to do next, to now, oh my gosh, there are people around me who can support me and who I can support, and I can make sales and I can have clarity. That's where I want to sign up. So if you can do that for your business and for your position, that's it. That's it right there. Like we could end this conversation. That's it.
I love that. I love that so much because a lot of times we get caught up in the how, right? And so we're trying to sell the how, and it's really not about that at all. I used to have a community of about 300 resume writers I used to coach, and I used to tell them all the time, what are you selling? We're not selling resumes, folks. No one wants a resume. No one cares about resumes. It's a means to an end. What is the end that you are selling? I used to try to drill that into them so much. And it's like, what are you selling? And then they started coming up with these different things that was the outcome of their services. The resume is the how. They don't the people don't care. They want to know, am I gonna get this? I don't care the how, I'll pay you, let's go. Right. And so that's really, I love that you mentioned that because that really definitely hits the nail on the head for sure.
And especially as Black women, right, and women of color, we get enamored with our degrees, we get enamored with the certifications, with the ways that we've learned how to do something. And that's wonderful. That definitely sets us apart in our field or profession. But when we are talking to potential clients, customers who are lay people, we want to lead with how we can best serve them and help them achieve their goals, period.
Exactly. And that's one of the things that I teach my clients as well. It's like, yeah. What sets you apart? Oh, I have the degree. Yeah. What really sets you apart? Because most times other people have similar certifications, similar educational
Yes.
backgrounds, similar
Yes.
experience, right?
Yes.
Similar like 10 years experience. And when I was doing the resume work, it was like, what makes you stand out? Oh, I have 10 years of experience. That's not a differentiator, ma'am. That is a requirement. That is a prerequisite. They won't entertain you if you don't have 10 years.
Now, where it
Stop with that. Go ahead.
No, sorry about that. Where that can be really helpful, though, is positioning you, right? Because we talked about marketing and sales.
Mhm.
So your marketing using, I have this certification, I have this many years of service, can get you on the dais at Essence, right? But the
Mm,
story you tell once you're sitting in the chair at Essence then changes. So it's strategically understanding how to leverage what you have and what you do, what
right.
you know and what you can bring about,
Yeah.
right? And help your client achieve. So
Love
use it
that.
all together. We're not saying, completely eschew having your JD. Like I got my Esquire. I ain't playing, girl. What? You know how much time it took me and my kids to get that damn degree? I'm like, you gonna know about this degree. I don't even use it, right? But it's there. I did it, I achieved
Yeah.
it. There's nothing wrong with that.
Love that. Love that. So when we get into community building, let's talk about LinkedIn for a second, right? What are
Yes.
some ways in which you feel we can build community on a social media site like LinkedIn?
What I love about LinkedIn is that LinkedIn has become so much more personalized, which is so perfect for personal branding, right? We can go from just being like, it's just the facts and this is just my resume, to yesterday I shared a post. I didn't know it took off, right? I shared a commencement speech and it was a snippet of a commencement speech. And all I said was like, delayed is not denied, fix your face. That's all I got today, right? And the thing has like 30,000 impressions because of the humanity behind it. And that is showing up wherever you show up. Bring your humanity with you. And then speak the language of LinkedIn, right? Or the platform that you're on. I can take that same post and my captions may be a little different on each platform. So with LinkedIn, you can bring your humanity, but also lead to either adding value that's related to the change that you offer, the business that you have, or I see you and I see you. And I see you post goes across all platforms. I understand where you are, right? And I
Mhm.
feel that. And people are like, oh, yes, thank you. Especially if they're on LinkedIn for business and they're burnt out and they're tired and they're like, I'm just going to post this one more thing to see if I can get a client, right? And then they come across something that edifies them. So to me, I think that you really want to have a nice balance of sharing about what you do and sharing about who you are and how that connects with other people. A
Mhm.
really nice balance of the two.
Yeah. And then when it comes to social media, right? What would
Mhm.
you recommend if you want to make those connections in that community even deeper, like pulling them off of the social media sites and now
Yes,
bringing them into your maybe personal community? Talk to us
correct.
a little bit about that. Like, how do you approach that? How do you invite them? How do you
You
build that?
you hit the nail on the head. And actually, Tanya Harrison, shout out to Signal Partners. She is the queen of like operations, both for corporate and for entrepreneurs. And she has helped me to really leverage my email list. Like I've been using email lists since like 2012, 2011, maybe 2009. Yeah, in real estate, 2009, right? So, what you want to do is ensure that you have a place that you own. And even with the email sites, be sure to download your CSV files every few months as well, because any platform can go away and you can lose the equity, the people that you've built. So, what you want to do is give them a reason to connect with you. Like I gave you a link, people can have a complimentary conversation with me anytime, a 15-minute complimentary chat at herpowermoves.com. Let's chat. Give them a place to go that's off of someone else's property so that you can connect with them and continue to build a relationship, right? So my value add with that URL is you can have a 15-minute complimentary chat with me anytime. Yours might be, hey, if you like this, guess what? I go deeper in my monthly newsletter. I go deeper in my weekly newsletter. Give people a reason to continue to be connected with you on a platform that you can control and have ownership of. People's attention are the biggest commodity right now. Like that is the currency that we're in, is attention. So if you can get them from LinkedIn to then in your DMs and then into your email list, you're golden, because now you can control the conversation and help them achieve their goals in a really personalized way and learn
Yeah. And,
more about them. Communication goes both ways. You can ask questions, you can send surveys, you can do market research, right? So there's additional value there.
yes. And also, now these are the people that are only focused on you when they come into your community. On LinkedIn, you're sharing that space with other creators, right? Or thought leaders. And so they're scrolling by and saying, hey, commenting something, and then they're off to the next. But if they're in your community, you know, when they're there, they are there for you and what you have to offer and with the people that they know share similar interests.
And what I would say that there's a lot of value, and this is something I do. I'm an ambivert, right? So I can get powered up either in big crowds or by myself and unapologetically, right? So if you can bring people together and create a forum where they can connect, like, right now, Tiffany and Tanya and, folks are in the comments. Chanel was there, Ann is there. I'm shouting them out, telling a little bit about those of them that I know with the hopes that they'll also connect in the comments. If you come on any live that I do or Zoom that I do, I'm like, connect in the comments, share your LinkedIn, make sure you learn what each other does. So you can become a person who curates community and adds a lot of value as well. So if you say, I have this community of amazing women, would you like to be a part of that? Right? And then you can join and continue to grow. So finding communities that exist or being someone who creates community can work really well for you to achieve your goals. You just have to think about it strategically. Never forget the strategy. Where do you want to be? What do you want to accomplish? And then you can work backwards and say, okay, now I'm going to say, how am I going to get there? What does that look like? But have that intention to start.
Love it, love it, love it. When I have guests on, one of the things I love is when they share personal stories. So, what got you into this, super connector energy? Like, were you always like that? Did something happen? And then what prompted you to say, let me open a whole co-working space? Like, tell us that journey a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of us have talks too much on our report cards. She's really intelligent, but she's very chatty. That like a lot of us, right? A lot of us she talks too much in class on our report cards. That was definitely every single year for me. So I am a chatty Cathy, as y'all can tell. But that being said, after I kind of got out of law practice and realized, hey, there's other things that I really want to do, I actually kind of got really active, and at the time was a DC tech scene, and it was very white, very male, very pale, male and stale, right? But that being said, there were some women here and there that I could connect with. And I began to realize that, as I was having all of these opportunities, there were women coming in. At the time, I hit up Twitter really hard, coming into my Twitter DM saying, how are you getting these opportunities? How are you getting into these rooms? And I realized it was actually, I was at an event in Manhattan, and Jeff Bezos, it was a private audience with Jeff Bezos and Mark Cuban, and I was literally tweeting it out. And sisters were like, girl, are you in a room with Jeff Bezos right now? How did that happen? That I realized, you know what? I don't want to gatekeep. I want to understand, how can I share this information so you can have access, so that you can achieve your goals and your dreams through relationships? Because I got in all these rooms by asking and through relationship development. And that was the inflection point for me to begin to more publicly share, not just where I was, but how I got there and how you can get there too. And then in 2018, we launched Her Power Moves here in South Florida. We, had our connections every month. And I was like, we need our own place. Because we kept look, we're women of a certain age, and we kept blowing out the AC and all these different places. I was like, we need our own place. And January 2020 is when I opened Her Power Space. And then March 31st is when I closed the door under the pandemic. So it was a really interesting time, but it was always about, I don't want you to not have access to something that I know exists. And if I know about something, you're going to know about something. So I am just a maven by nature. But the more women who reached out to me and said, I don't know how I can get into this room, let's talk about it. Let's strategize. Who else do we know? How can we get you into that position? And that's gone from making deals for some of my clients with Walmart all the way to getting them, speaking engagements in Egypt. I'm connected to everybody on the planet. I have no doubt about that.
She said, I got 8 billion people in my Rolodex.
What? and you can too. That's what I'm saying, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
You really can.
So what did you say? Because I know in the beginning you talked about introverts. So
Yes.
what do you say to them where it's like, I want to do these things, but I am so not into talking to people? Like for me, I'm introverted. I'm not shy, but I'm introverted.
Absolutely.
Right? And so I only want to talk to the people I want to talk to, the people like when I want to talk to them. I don't have the energy to be just talking to any and everybody.
Sure.
So when it comes to, people like us, how do we start those conversations? And how do we do it in a way where we don't have to talk about all the fluffy stuff? I just want to get to it. Hey, I want to come to your thing. Can I come or not? That's where I'm at. That's what I want to do. I don't want to have to, let's talk. Let's talk about small. I'm not good with small talk, So what do you have any advice for someone like me who just want to cut to the chase and not, but I don't want to make it seem like I just want to use you for your thing either. right?
Absolutely. So what I say to introverts are a few things. Number one, and some of this applies to everyone, but have an intention before you go. First of all. So I'm talking about in-person events where you're going to speak to people face to face. Have an intention. Why are you going? Who do you want to connect with? Give yourself maybe 2 to 3 wins, right? And so that way, first of all, if you hit those 2 to 3 and you've also already hit your capacity for peopling, leave, and you have no guilt. You could be there in the first 15 minutes and hit all of your goals, and the event is 3 hours long. And at minute 20, you're like, oh my God, I want to go home. Go home. It's okay, right? Because you have made your success for that event happen already. That's the first thing. The second thing is that if you are a person who you know tends to glom onto one person at an event, and that can be a little tricky because they might not want to be held captive. And I know introverts have a way to do that. Think about it this way. If you can lead with a question that enables you to get the response that you need to know whether or not you should continue your conversation for your intention with this person, then you will have a capacity to be able to kind of detach sooner. So you don't have to do small talk. If I'm at an event and I'm going there and I'm looking for people who maybe want to, host a book club meeting at my space, then I walk in and I say, this is an author event. Let me talk to authors in the room. So I can lead with, do you have a book club? Have you written a book? And if they say, no, I'm not even thinking about it, I'm just here to hold somebody's hand back, whatever, then it's like, oh, okay, great meeting you. Now that doesn't have to deplete your energy, and you're also not there stuck because you're an introvert and don't really want to talk to anybody else. You have to still take some ownership of your desires and what success is for you. But what I say is lead with a question that's about the other person, but also moves the needle forward for your goal and reason for being in the room. And then have follow-up happen. So you don't have to do small talk when you get right to the what brings you out today, why, what made you come to the event. And then you can sort of parse out of that who they are, what they do, and if there's quote unquote value, I'm using that loosely, for you based on why you're there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then follow up. Be sure to follow up after the event.
Yeah, I think the follow-up is definitely the make or break of whatever you were trying to do. If you don't follow up, they're gonna be like, who? Because it's people that I meet and then I don't hear from them, and then maybe 2 weeks, I'm like, who are you? I don't remember.
Yeah.
All right, you gotta follow up quickly.
Yeah.
Right? 24 hours, so it's still fresh, and then strengthen the relationship and strengthen that connection, and whatever the reason that you wanted to connect was, keep that at the forefront, like you said, the goal.
And introverts are really great at remembering specifics in conversation because you don't do small talk, right?
Yeah.
So use that to your benefit in your follow-up. I remember that, you had on those fierce red shoes, or we talked about this, to help also jog the memory of the other person by playing to your strength of knowing that you remember things and you're very observant because you're an introvert, right? The other thing is that you can respond and follow up strategically as well. If I meet someone at a Saturday conference, I actually don't email them until Tuesday, because more than likely their inbox got filled up over Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, and now mine will stand out on Tuesday or Wednesday. But I'm also using a factoid or something from our conversation as a little bit of a gem.
Mm-hmm. Now, what tools or tech, because I know when we spoke about this, you mentioned tools and tech. What are there any ones that you would recommend for the follow-up or for just community building in general?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there are a couple of things. One is understanding what it is you want to use it for, right? So there is CRM, customer relationship management tools, or client relationship management tools. And then there are email service providers. And so you need to understand, first of all, how it is you intend to use the products, because you can use them both together. The CRM enables you to say, I met Melanie on, Tuesday, July 9th at this podcasting event. and put that into your relationship management and set your follow-ups. So something that's free is like Zoho, Zoho, and that's a tool that you can use and say, these are the people I've met, set a reminder for when you'd like to follow up. And in some of them, you can even send an email right out from that tool and track your email communications. If you are wanting to communicate with people on a broader scale, maybe have some other automations in there. If you go to, one of my URLs for my book club or something like that, you'll automatically get welcome, I'm glad you're here, and you're tagged, aka put into a bucket that says these are people who are in my book club. And whenever I want to contact my book club folks, I can use my email service provider to say our next meeting is this date, etc. So you want to look at CRM tools. Like I said, like Zoho is free. There's MailChimp is not my favorite if you really want to become at some point a power emailer with Email List Builder. And then there are newsletter platforms as well. So now you can use things like Notion and Beehive, and most of them have a free tier.
I've been hearing a lot about Notion all over the place, and I tried to check it out, but I was confused. I'm not gonna hold you.
I use it a little bit. I use it to share things privately more so than on a broadcast level. I'm not using it for broadcast, but I do know that a lot of people are using it as almost like a newsletter or a way to get private access to thought leadership. So this is about that's more so about thought leadership, sharing your thoughts, your ideas, giving people a reason to connect with you based on what you know and how you can then continue the relationship building by sharing what you know and the value that you bring that could be of service or value to them.
And what are HubSpot tip apps?
HubSpot, I've found over the years can tend to become quite expensive, and I'm not sure, just based on what your needs may be, if it's necessary, but I know more people at the enterprise level tend to use HubSpot. I've used HubSpot at different points in time. I find that there are other tools that work better for me.
Gotcha. Yeah. I will say though, your email game is on point.
Thank
Just
you.
throw that out there. That's what kept me like in the loop of what you had going on was your emails. And they were so nicely written. They were pink and bright and orange and just welcoming. And it was, your email game is top notch. 10 out of 10.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. And that's the key, right? So when we talk about community building and branding, any time that you have an opportunity to be in the room with someone, whether that's through email newsletter or in person or online, you have an opportunity to learn more about them and share more about you, both from the business and the human side of your life.
Yeah, love that. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I want to know one question regarding your career path, because I know now you have, sold the co-working space and you're transitioning into something else. And I've been seeing your taglines, talking about lawyers and helping them not to burn out and things like that. So talk to us a little bit about that journey and how you got there to where you are now, and how you intend on building community in this new lane.
Yeah, thank you for asking. I mean, I feel like I'm on my fourth or fifth act, and I'm really excited about it. Full disclosure, like I said, I sold my space in May, and it was almost like this existential crisis. What am I going to do next? Like, who am I? What am I? It was really so strange. It was something that I didn't expect. It was almost a grieving a little bit. Right. And it makes sense now that I can look back on it. But when I was in it, I was like, is this perimenopause? Like, what is it? All the things are happening at once. Right. And so when I was able to just say, who am I? What does that look like? Journaling, et cetera. I'm like, you know what? It's mentorship. And also, I've been saying I'm a recovering attorney for a decade. I have met so many other recovering attorneys, recovering corporate people. And it's like, why are we recovering? What is it about this path that we've chosen that requires recovery, and can something change? Because like I said, I spent 16 years with my kids achieving these educational goals. And to step out of that and say, you know what, all the education that I just did, I'm gonna leave that and go do this other thing because it feels like it's more aligned with my values, is happening to a lot of people, especially Black women and women of color, right? What if we can change the organizations in a way that reflects our values, or find the organizations that work and align with our values so that we can continue to be in the fields that we've chosen, especially if we love them, but also in environments that feed us, right? And part of that is driven by how many, the HBCU president who committed suicide, and the president of Harvard stepped down. And, it was just like so many in the past year, Black women who are opting out of, in different ways, corporate environments, legal environments, that I had to say, wait, I think I bring a different skill set by having had this entrepreneurial journey of a decade coupled with corporate and law firm work for a decade, and putting those 20 years together to say, how can we create mentorship programs? How can you as a mentee get value and take ownership and be in places that ensure that you achieve the goals that you've set for yourself and your career? And so that's the space I'm playing in right now. But I have also gotten another very interesting offer recently. So we're going to see. You'll see about it on LinkedIn. But the goal for me is that as long as I can be my highest and best use, and my highest and best use is bringing people together in a way that helps them achieve their goals, and helping them be strategic and set intentions, and then make the right connections to achieve those. So wherever I am, I will be doing that.
Love it. I love that. That is amazing. And I think it takes a certain level of self-reflection and knowing yourself, and then honoring that to be able to make these bold moves, right? I didn't recognize how hard it would be to transition out of something you've been doing for a while. I had a very similar experience to you, where after I said no more resumes,
Yes.
it took me 2 years to figure out what was next for me.
Right. Right.
And it was a hard. It was so hard, because Mel always has a plan. Mel always knows what she's doing. Mel always has a goal. Mel always is ready for the next thing. And just feeling lost was very challenging for me.
Yeah.
And I took a lot of self reflection and really like digging deeper into who really am I? What's really going to light me up? You know what I mean? And it was not the resumes, child.
Right. And and then you feel like, well, was that a waste of time? And of course, we know nothing is wasted, but it starts to feel like, how did I not know better? Or how could I have done something differently? And also, am I running away from something, or am I running towards something? Like,
Mm,
I know I left law. I was running away from law. And while I
mhm,
wanted to work with women entrepreneurs, that wasn't very strategic at the outset. When I left law practice in
mhm,
2012, it was not strategic, right? And so I hope that more people, if you do change or make changes in your career or your business, that it is still moving forward versus looking back and saying, what I got to get away from this. No,
yeah.
let's set the course so that you can move forward in a way that doesn't cause burnout, that feels like it's smart, and you know what to say no to. Right?
Mhm,
Because if we're running away, we're going to say yes to everything, because it's like, this bill got to be paid. I need to
mhm,
be on that stage. Who can I connect with? And it can feel very scatterplot, right? Versus having a real path to your desired outcome and destination.
that's
And
right.
so, if we can create more environments where people either feel good about the environment they're in, or can make strategic moves to be in the environment that better aligns with them and their values, that's my goal.
I love it. I have very similar ideals around that stuff. And it's funny you said like running away, because I was definitely running away from the resume stuff. I didn't want nothing to do with it. I was like, I don't want to see another resume person. I don't want to talk about my resume stuff. But I was speaking to one of my old colleagues and mentees and clients. We've been all intertwined. And she was like, I feel like you want to get away from resumes so bad. You're not leveraging that
Right.
in this new path. I was like, you're so right. Because
Yeah.
I did build my personal brand as a resume industry leader. However way you want to slice it, that's what I did. And I'm not leveraging that enough because I don't want to talk about, you know what I mean? I don't want to talk about resume writing. I don't want to talk about that. I'm done with that. But it is a building block. And, people need to recognize what I have done in my past life to build that credibility in this new path. And I was not on that at all. I was like, girl, we're not doing that. I'm talking about it. But to your point, you got to bring that with you.
But I love that you say that, and I appreciate how candid you're being, Mel, because I think that a lot of times what we forget are the lessons in that journey. And as a
Yeah.
resume writer, I know we don't talk about the job description, the job title. I mean, right? We talk about the description. What did we do? And that
Mhm.
goes right back to the conversation when we started, which is what are the gems and nuggets that I can take away from that, right? So I'm exited co-working space founder, but what did I learn about that in terms of building a business and making connections, and what are the strategic pieces that I can now take to the next position, the next
Right.
opportunity? But we're so like, I'm done. And one of the things that I do want to say, whether you're in transition or just looking to improve your personal brand using community and connections, is really to be inquisitive about other people.
Yeah.
If you care about what other people do and really like are interested in other people, I always say that, like, when you lead with value and service, your ask becomes your answer.
Mm.
We all walk out the house like, I got an ask, buy my thing. But if I lead with, Mel, you know, what are you looking for? What's the next level for you? And I say, you know what, I have a connection for you. 9 times out of 10, Mel's going to say to me, Michelle, what can I do for you? Now that's my ask, which is the answer to her question of how can I help you? When you
Mhm.
lead with how can I help other people, they will almost always reciprocate. And if they don't, then those aren't people you want to be connected with anyway, because I really like if we don't have a reciprocal relationship, and by reciprocal, it doesn't mean sort of a quid pro quo kind of exchange. It's really about, are you someone who's also heart centered? Because that's the reciprocity to me. I can put $100,000 in Mel's pocket and she may never do the same for me, but I might get it from someone else, right? And
Mhm.
she might go on to help someone else. So that's how the whole ecosystem happens, is that we're all leading from a place of service. We're all sharing and helping other people achieve their goals, and it really comes back to us tenfold. And that might sound a little woo woo, but just call me
Right.
woo woo then, because I've seen it
Hey.
happen too often. I've seen it
Yeah.
happen too often to not know that it's true.
Yeah. I'm with you. I'm with you
Yeah.
on that. Thank you so much, Michelle. I appreciate your time. I apologize for the, you know,
Don't
tech
even
issue,
mention it. That doesn't even
but
matter.
this was a really great conversation, as I knew it would be. And so I want to thank you so much for being here and let the people know how they can connect with you.
Absolutely. If you have any questions about your own journey, I really am a business strategist, right? I help people strategically think about what their next step may be, whether that's in your career or within your business. And right now, if you'd like to hop on my calendar, I'm always open for a 15-minute introductory call to be able to help you figure out what's next for you and help you get there, and then tap into my network. Seriously, herpowermoves.com/let's chat, LETSCHAT. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
I really appreciate the work that you're doing with Empowered Presence and all that you do to ensure that we get the information that we need and the connections we need, and putting people in front of your audience. That is a huge value. So thank you so much for sharing your platform. This was fun.
Yes. Hey, I don't like boring stuff. So
No,
anything I'm part of, it needs to be lit. Okay.
exactly.
So thank you so much. If you're listening or watching today, please support the podcast. Just subscribe. We have a YouTube channel. We're on Apple, we're on Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts, we are there. So go ahead, subscribe, leave a rating, leave a review, share this out. That's all I'm asking. It's like a few mouse clicks to support, okay? And just remember, empowered presence. Empowered is the authority to do something, and presence is just the state, effect, or being. So be who you are. You are already powerful and stand in that power. Until next time, happy self marketing. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Empowered Presence podcast. Make sure you subscribe to get alerts, updates, and the resources mentioned in today's episode at empoweredpresence.tv.